Okay, so imagine a digital vault, one that's supposed to be uncrackable, even by the most powerful computers we can dream up. Now, what if I told you there's a thief who doesn't even need to pick the lock? Instead, they just listen. They listen to the faintest whispers of the lock itself to figure out the combination. Well, today, we're diving into a real-life digital heist where an AI did exactly that. It learned how to hear the secret whispers of a computer chip.
So why is this such a big deal? Well, pretty much everything we do online, our banking, our private messages, you name it, is protected by encryption. But there's this huge storm brewing on the horizon, and it's called quantum computing. These machines are a whole different beast. They could, in theory, use special tools like Shor's algorithm to just shatter the encryption we use today, and do it in minutes. And believe me, this isn't science fiction anymore. It's a real threat, and cryptographers are scrambling to get ahead of it.
And their solution is something called post-quantum cryptography, or PQC for short. This is a brand new generation of encryption. It's built on math problems that we believe are tough for any computer to solve, even the quantum ones. You can think of it like we're upgrading all of our digital locks from a simple key to a complex biometric scanner. And it's happening now. Organizations like NIST are already in the process of standardizing these next-gen defenses.
So, let's meet the hero of our story, an algorithm called GALACTICS. It's one of these new PQC algorithms, and it was designed to be extra tough. What made it so special is that it was built to be constant time. See, attackers can sometimes learn secrets just by timing how long a computer takes to do things. Constant time is a defense against that. It makes every single operation take the exact same amount of time, removing that clue entirely. On paper, this thing was a fortress.
But, like in any good heist movie, the most secure fortress always has some kind of hidden flaw. And in this case, the weakness wasn't in the math of the lock itself. Nope, it was in the physical material of the vault.
To really get this, you have to understand there are two totally different ways to crack a code. On one hand, you have mathematical attacks. That's the brute force method, like trying every single possible key combination until one works. But on the other hand, you have side channel attacks. This is way more subtle. It's like a safecracker pressing their ear against the safe door, listening for the tiny click of the tumblers falling into place. You're not breaking the lock. You're exploiting how it physically behaves.
And this quote really just nails it. The whole point is that the attackers aren't looking for a flaw in the math. They're looking at how that math actually runs on a physical piece of silicon. So the big takeaway here is that an algorithm can be mathematically perfect, but the hardware it runs on can still whisper its secrets.
And this is the hardware we're talking about. It's a really common chip, a Cortex-M4 microcontroller. You'd find this kind of thing in all sorts of smart devices. Now here's the secret. Every time this little chip does something, whether it's adding two numbers or flipping a single bit, it uses a slightly different amount of electricity. We're talking about microscopic variations in power.
And this is what those whispers look like when you measure them. These rapid, tiny ups and downs in power create this unique signature, what's called a power trace. Now, to you and me, that just looks like a bunch of noise. But to an attacker, it's a language. And if you can learn to speak that language, you can literally hear what the chip is thinking.
So how in the world do you learn to speak chip? Well, you don't call a translator. You train an AI. This is where machine learning comes into the picture, acting as our super sophisticated digital thief, the one that can be taught to understand these incredibly faint power whispers. The whole attack plays out in two main steps. First, there's what's called the profiling phase. Think of this as getting your hands on an identical copy of the safe you want to crack. You take it back to your workshop where you can do whatever you want to it. Take it apart, learn every single click and whir it makes. Then, once you've learned its secrets, you move on to the attack phase, where you use everything you learn to go after the real one.
So during this profiling phase, the researchers get an identical clone chip. We'll call it device A. They haven't run its cryptographic functions thousands and thousands of times. But here's the key. Since they control this device, they know the exact secret values being used for every single operation. They record the power trace for each one and then label it with the secret that created it. What they end up with is this massive, incredibly detailed Rosetta Stone for the chip's secret language.
Then they take this huge labeled dataset and feed it to their AI, which in this case was a type of neural network called a multi-layer perceptron. The AI just churns through all of this data, and it starts to learn these incredibly subtle patterns that no human could ever spot. It starts to figure out that, oh, this little wiggle in the power trace means a secret bit was a 1, and that little dip means another value was a 0. It basically becomes an expert translator for the chip's power usage.
All right, so the training is done. The AI is fluent in chip.
Now it's time for the actual heist. The researchers shift their focus from the practice device over to the real, unsuspecting target.
So the attacker just monitors the target chip, device B. They ask it to do a totally normal task, like create a digital signature. And while the chip is doing its work, completely unaware, they are quietly recording its power traces. The chip has no idea it's being listened to. And the results, they're just staggering. Just look at this. For one piece of secret information, a simple guess would get it right about 77% of the time. The AI, it predicted it with 93% accuracy. But then look at the next one. For a random sign bit, which is literally a 50-50 coin flip, the AI was correct 99.9% of the time. That's not guessing anymore. That's practically reading its mind.
But then you get to this number, and it is just mind-blowing. 100%. For another one of the crucial secret bits, the AI model was perfect. It never, not even once, got it wrong. It was flawlessly reading an internal secret right out of the chip.
Now, it's important to know these little bits of information aren't the secret key itself. Think of them more like individual puzzle pieces. But once you've collected enough of these pieces, these incredibly accurate predictions of what's happening inside the chip, you can just plug them into a few equations. After a little bit of what's basically high school level math, the entire secret key just pops out. And how many of these puzzle pieces did they need? Well, for their most effective attack, the AI only had to listen to the chip sign about 320 messages. Now, in the world of cryptography, that is shockingly low. It makes this a really practical, really fast attack. That uncrackable vault was basically open in a matter of seconds.
So the heist was a complete success. But what does this all mean for the future of our digital security? Because this is about way more than just one algorithm. This really signals a major shift in the entire battlefield of cybersecurity. So, what are the big lessons here? Well, first, we learned that even a great defense like constant time design isn't a silver bullet. We saw absolute proof that physical hardware can accidentally betray the most secure software running on it. And maybe the biggest lesson of all is that AI is an incredibly powerful, almost scary new tool for cracking these systems open. The security arms race isn't just about who has the smartest mathematicians anymore. Now, it's also about who can control these tiny physical leaks of information.
And that leaves us with one last, kind of chilling thought. This AI was trained to hear the whispers of a single computer chip. As artificial intelligence gets more and more powerful, you have to wonder, what other secure systems out there have their own secret tells? What other faint whispers are leaking from our phones, our cars, our critical infrastructure that we just haven't learned how to listen for yet?